I will say that wrinkles probably went up a few spots during the pandemic because of Zoom, right? Everyone was looking at them. Like I see myself in the corner there. I'm trying to look at you, but I'm also there.
Yeah.
And people like Botox and plastic surgery went skyrocketing up because you're right. A lot of people weren't looking in the mirror for most of the day. When you're on a Zoom, you kind of are, and you're seeing things and other people are seeing it too.
Yeah.
So has business been better for you because of that?
It's definitely the questions have changed, but what we're starting to see is, so first of all, a lot of the questions are around how do I improve, the results of Botox, how I make Botox last longer.
Yep.
What are the ways in which I can mitigate the potential harm of Botox, etc. So, and fillers and different types of aggressive lasers and radio frequency and all the shebang. So for example, I was just interviewed in Ben Greenfield's podcast, and obviously it's Ben. He has a very wide array of interests and questions, and I mentioned, like, in passing, the fact that you might not want to do aggressive resurfacing lasers constantly, because you're depleting some of the reservoirs of repair for that, and you're basically introducing frailty and obviously long term. And I've now spoken about that as much as I've spoken about it there. We have gotten, I'm not kidding you when I say we have gotten thousands of questions about that. Out of everything we said and about diet and whatever, that was what was interesting to people. Everyone's like, oh my God, I was about to do laser tomorrow and blah, blah, and I've been doing this. So that is the situation we're living in today. But to your point, by the way, about how the modern world changed some things, what we're starting to see are much younger people, but where our product, we're saying, coming from the NAD realm, you are not really in an NAD deficiency if you're living a healthy life until you're like 30.
At least, yeah.
At least, yeah. And I would argue you might want to wait with, like, getting an IV maybe until you're like 35,
Yeah.
But we're starting to see, 22-year-olds asking us about, what should I use after I use Botox? And I'm not kidding. And fillers and obviously things like that. And that is not necessarily because of Zoom. What happens is they are using filters and social media, and they want to look like their filter.
Yeah. So unrealistic expectations.
Unrealistic, but also unrealistic facial structure. So they're trying to augment the facial structure to look like the filter rather than the opposite, because they're, most of the people seeing them, they don't know them. They know the filter. So,
right. And then you see someone in real life, it's like, oh, okay. That's
okay. No.
And then you want to be that filter. You want to be the AI characterization of yourself, right?
Yeah.
That looks so well. But I think a lot of the vanity metrics have changed in general. But I do think, medicine, skincare, beauty, they all kind of echo themselves, meaning you have younger and younger people that are seeking out these types of solutions. You have younger and younger people that are sick. That's what we see. It's kind of shocking. We work in a place where it's out of pocket. Most people start on the conventional side and end up here as a last chance. Nothing else worked. We need some integrative, holistic approach. But it used to be that, really chronically ill people were a little bit older. You're seeing them now, teenagers, right? You're seeing kids in their 20s or so have chronic illness, but still trying to emphasize the look. And I think there's just such a correlation of your skin is an expression of what's going on inside. That idea of eczema, all these different are really inside out sort of issues most of the time.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of it is like, if you're healthy, then your skin should be healthy. And it goes both ways. You should put things on your skin that nourishes and put things inside of you that will nourish from the inside out.
Yes.
Which brings me to this idea of, the leaky gut, the GI system as a whole, diet. What are you seeing, or what do you recommend as a diet for skin I mean,
Yeah.
everyone's different, right? But we can't personalize on a podcast. We have to give some generalizations.
Well, I think the first thing is to say, look at go have a genetic test and understand, you can look at between like 5 to 20 genes that will tell you how you should supplement and eat to your
Hmm.
specific deficiencies. How well you metabolize folic acid to folate, etc. So you could do that, and maybe you should start there in any age, by the way, and that's something you do only once.
Hmm.
But in general, an anti-inflammatory diet is probably the most important thing that you can do, is
Yeah.
basically figure out what creates inflammation in your body and what does not, and adjust your diet accordingly. After that, it's obviously when I say the word protein, most people think of one ingredient, or collagen, by the way. So most people think of this one ingredient. If I asked you to imagine a protein, you would probably imagine some generic molecule. Insert generic molecule here. But really, I suggest looking at a protein as like a multivitamin of amino acids,
Hmm.
which are needed, which your body breaks the protein into and then utilizes it in order to synthesize its own protein. So, for example, when, my joke is you're not taking collagen to improve the wrinkle between your eyebrows, the same way you're not eating a banana expecting to be a unicorn, right? It's like that's not how your body processes things.
Right.
Actually, your body doesn't have a single nutrient in which it's going to use it as a whole. You're going to give it to it as a whole. We were talking about NAD a second ago, NAD IV. Your body takes that NAD that you've been intravenously introducing into your body, and it breaks it down into its precursors, its building blocks. So your body doesn't really know how to do a full, transportation. And going back to protein, that is extremely important when we're talking about nutrition, because proteins are the most important building blocks that you can introduce through nutrition, in my eyes. High protein intake, when I say high, I mean around a gram per pound of body weight, would be extremely beneficial for our skin, and, by the way, for our gut. Which would obviously then, translate to good skin. And if you want some kind of cool ingredient, I would say sulfur compounds, such as, moringin, which you get from moringa, or sulforaphane, sulforaphane and myrosinase. So basically like broccoli sprouts, or broccoli, if you want to get it like super bioavailable, you sprinkle some mustard seed powder on it. That would be something that would also allow you to get some more glutathione in your system, so more antioxidant ability for your body. So that would be like a little side note. But for the most part, like high protein, lower carb, like 20% carb, and things that don't inflame you.
Yeah. I think so much of it comes down to reduce inflammation.
Yeah.
And just take in nutrient absorption
Mhm.
and so much of that is just eat clean, stop
Yes.
eating box packages.